Article 1. All human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. They are endowed with reason and conscience and should act towards one another in a spirit of brotherhood.
In the late 18th century, a storm was brewing in the heart of France.
Whereas it is essential, if man is not to be compelled to have recourse, as a last resort, to rebellion against tyranny and oppression, that human rights should be protected by the rule of law.
Renaissance. The true driving force for the humanity in transition from Middle Age to modernity. Started in the 14th century and continuing through the 17th century, it was a period of cultural and intellectual rebirth in Europe with a profound effect worldwide. One of the most significant aspects of the Renaissance was the emphasis on humanism, the belief in the potential and worth of individuals.
The Ancien Regime, or also known as Old Regime, had been in place since late Middle Ages as the political and social system of the Kingdom of France. The House of Bourbon, a branch of the former Capetian dynasty, was the royal house ruling the country for many years. The political power had been widely dispersed among the elites. During that period, the peasants, representing 80% of the total population in France, were making up the vast majority of the population. The country was going through political turmoil and economic crises, which was mainly associated with the French participating in the American Revolution. The social inequality, the burdensome feudal system were being more and more questioned, and people were less and less willing to support and becoming part of it. The society was overall going through a period of awareness and enlightenment.
During that period, there was much growing interest in recovering and studying Old Latin and Greek literature and texts, including the books and writings from ancient Rome, such as Cicero, Lucretius, Seneca, and ancient Greek, such as Homer and Demosthenes. The dust remaining over many ancient studies and books was removed. The content of the ancient work was revived and thoroughly studied, resulting in overall enlightenment. Renaissance libraries opened to the public, where ideas exchanged and prospered with free thinking.
Whereas recognition of the inherent dignity and of the equal and inalienable rights of all members of the human family is the foundation of freedom, justice, and peace in the world. Whereas disregard and contempt for human rights have resulted in barbarous acts which have outraged the conscience of mankind, and the advent of a world in which human beings shall enjoy freedom of speech and belief and freedom from fear and want has been proclaimed as the highest aspiration of the common people.
It ended with the Third Estate declaring themselves as the National Assembly. And they threatened to proceed, if necessary, without the other two orders. This was all against the wishes of the king. The following 2 months was the period of Grand Peur, or Great Fear, fueled by the gathering of troops around Paris, and making people think what if all actions in between looking good were prevarication and merely part of the grand plan of the king and the privilege to overthrow the Third Estate. On the 14th of July 1789, a group of Parisian revolutionaries seized the Bastille prison in a dramatic act of protest against the king. The storming of the Bastille was the start of the French Revolution, and liberty, equality, fraternity was the slogan reflecting the demand for change.
Article 1. All human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. They are endowed with reason and conscience and should act towards one another in a spirit of brotherhood.
This shift in thinking challenged the traditional and philosophical views of the Middle Ages,
which was as well reflected in the works of many political thinkers, scientists and authors like Jean-Jacques Rousseau, Voltaire, Denis Diderot, and Montesquieu.
Whereas the peoples of the United Nations have in the Charter reaffirmed their faith in fundamental human rights, in the dignity and worth of the human person, and in the equal rights of men and women, and have determined to promote social progress and better standards of life in larger freedom. Whereas member states have pledged themselves to achieve, in cooperation with the United Nations, the promotion of universal respect for and observance of human rights and fundamental freedoms. Whereas a common understanding of these rights and freedoms is of the greatest importance for the full realization of this pledge. Now, therefore, the General Assembly proclaims this Universal Declaration of Human Rights as a common standard of achievement for all peoples and all nations, to the end that every individual and every organ of society, keeping this declaration constantly in mind, shall strive by teaching and education to promote respect for these rights and freedoms, and by progressive measures, national and international, to secure their universal and effective recognition and observance both among the peoples of member states themselves and among the peoples of territories under their jurisdiction. Article 2. Everyone is entitled to all the rights and freedoms set forth in this declaration, without distinction of any kind, such as race, color, sex, language, religion, political or other opinion, national or social origin, property, birth, or other status. Furthermore, no distinction shall be made on the basis of the political, jurisdictional, or international status of the country or territory to which a person belongs, whether it be independent, trust, non-self-governing, or under any other limitation of sovereignty. Article 3. Everyone has the right to life, liberty, and the security of person.
Liberty, equality, fraternity.
Article 4. No one shall be held in slavery or servitude. Slavery and the slave trade shall be prohibited in all their forms. Article 5. No one shall be subjected to torture or to cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment or punishment. Article 6. Everyone has the right to recognition everywhere as a person before the law. Article 7. All are equal before the law and are entitled without any discrimination to equal protection of the law. Article 27. 1. Everyone has the right freely to participate in the cultural life of the community, to enjoy the arts, and to share in scientific advancement and its benefits. 2. Everyone has the right to the protection of the moral and material interests resulting from any scientific, literary, or artistic production of which he is the author. Article 28. Everyone is entitled to a social and international order in which the rights and freedoms set forth in this declaration can be fully realized. Article 29. 1. Everyone has duties to the community in which alone the free and full development of his personality is possible. 2. In the exercise of his rights and freedoms, everyone shall be subject only to such limitations as are determined by law solely for the purpose of securing due recognition and respect for the rights and freedoms of others, and of meeting the just requirements of morality, public order, and the general welfare in a democratic society. 3. These rights and freedoms may in no case be exercised contrary to the purposes and principles of the United Nations. Article 30. Nothing in this declaration may be interpreted as implying for any state, group, or person in the right to engage in any activity or to perform any act aimed at the destruction of any of the rights and freedoms set forth herein. Article 1. All human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. They are endowed with reason and conscience and should act towards one another in a spirit of brotherhood.